Announcements, none. Papers have been laid. Questions?
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I have given private notice to ask the Honorable Prime Minister, Minister of Defense, Home Affairs and External Communications, and Minister for Rodrigue, Outer Island and Territorial Integrity, whether in regard to the alleged corrupt and fraudulent practices unfolded by the African Development Bank concerning the tender for the Saint-Louis Power Plant redevelopment project, he will state the following. A, dates on which he asked for and obtained the summary of the investigation report of the African Development Bank. B, identities of the intermediaries to whom monies were allegedly paid out according to the said report, indicating the 1, specific amounts allegedly paid, and 2, measures taken in relation thereto between the 8th and the 20th June 2020, giving the chronology thereof.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I stated in my reply to private notice question on the 11th of June 2020, I received a copy of a press release from the African Development Bank to the effect that Burmeister and Wayne Scandinavian Company had been debarred for a period of 21 months pursuant to a settlement agreement between the bank and that company. The reason being that the company had, according to the bank, engaged in sanctionable practices in a power generation project financed by the bank in Mauritius. The press release stated that in 2014 and 2015, BWSC participated in tenders for the redevelopment of the Saint-Louis Power Plant in Mauritius, a project funded by the bank. It further stated that an investigation conducted by the bank's Office of Integrity and Anti-Corruption had concluded that it is more likely than not that the company engaged in fraudulent and corrupt practices in the context of this project. Mr. Speaker, sir, I further informed the House that on 9th of June 2020, the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development had requested a copy of the report of the investigation. On 10th of June 2020, the bank replied that in accordance with its guidelines and policies, investigation reports compiled by its Office of Integrity and Anti-Corruption could not be shared outside of a referral process to law enforcement authorities. On the same day, the Attorney General personally wrote to the country manager for Southern Africa region of the bank to request a copy of the report. On the 11th of June 2020, the country manager replied that she had referred the request to the Director of the Office of Integrity and Anti-Corruption of the bank. Between the 12th and 15th of June 2020, the Attorney General exchanged several correspondences with the Director of the Office of Integrity and Anti-Corruption of the bank on the same issue. On 15th of June 2020, the Director of Integrity and Anti-Corruption Office of the bank wrote to the Chief Executive Officer of BWSC and requested the latter to, I quote, fully cooperate with and assist in good faith the ICAC and the Attorney General's Office of the Republic of Mauritius, unquote. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that on 14th of June 2020, we concurrently requested the Executive Director for our constituency in the African Development Bank to express to the President our deep concern on the matter and the prejudice that this press announcement is causing to the country. In addition, we requested that the President be informed that government wishes to take immediate action to maintain the integrity of our jurisdiction. On the 18th of June 2020, the President of the Bank informed us that he had directed the Office of Integrity and Anti-Corruption, responsible for the investigation into allegations of misconduct committed in respect of this project financed by the bank, to ensure that the required information, as appropriate, is made available to us in these unusual circumstances. On 19th of June 2020, a further request was made to the Director of the Integrity and Anti-Corruption Department of the African Development Bank for the submission of a copy of the investigation report to allow government to respond promptly on the matter and take appropriate measures without any delay. The bank submitted a summary of the investigation report, which I received on 23rd June 2020, clearly specifying that such report contains very sensitive materials and is strictly confidential. In addition, it was stated that the report is based on an extensive evaluation of the BWSC report. In respect to Part B of the question, on 29th of June 2020, we requested permission from the bank to quote the findings of the summary of the investigation report in the National Assembly. And on the same day, the bank replied that the report is strictly confidential and reiterated its previous qualification that it is not allowed to quote any part of the report. As I have already stated, I cannot reveal any details, including the identities of the intermediaries to whom monies were allegedly paid out and the specific amounts thereof. In regard to Part B2 of the question, the following actions have been taken. The CB referred the matter to ICAC on the 9th of June 2020. The acting general manager of the CB was interdicted on the 12th of June 2020. The board of the CB was revoked on 13th of June 2020 and reconstituted on the 14th of June 2020. On 25th of June 2020, my office referred the summary of the investigation report to the ICAC pursuant to the provisions of the Prevention of Corruption Act. The Deputy Prime Minister was invited to step down temporarily pending the conclusion of the inquiry, and for the reasons for which the Deputy Prime Minister has already explained, he refused to step down. The Deputy Prime Minister was consequently revoked on the 25th of June 2020. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to reiterate my commitment and the commitment of this government to shed light on this case, and to that effect, every possible avenue will be explored. Good governance and integrity indeed constitute the foundation of a clean and ethical society. Let me restate in the most emphatic manner our unequivocal subscription to the principles of discipline, transparency, accountability, and exemplary governance in the conduct of the business of government. We remain steadfast in our commitment to intensify our fight against fraud and corruption with zero tolerance of corrupt practices. We will therefore leave no stone unturned to get to the bottom of this case.
I'm glad that Prime Minister will leave no stone unturned to get to the bottom of this case. But Prime Minister is playing on words. can I ask him not to hide behind stark opacity, which government has been doing all along, and to come clean, with clean hands on this issue, and to disclose the substance of this document, because he has already done so to some extent. Is he aware of this?
Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a matter for me not to play with, first of all. It is a very serious matter. And that is why I have taken all necessary steps to communicate with the African Development Bank, with the Office of Integrity and Anti-Corruption, in order to get at least details of this scandal. And we have been, I must say, I must thank the African Development Bank for at least having communicated to us a summary of their anti-corruption report. And they have expressly stated that it is for personal and confidential use. We have written to the ADB because I could see things coming. We have requested specifically that in case there are questions in the National Assembly, I am seeking permission to be able to provide details and information to the National Assembly. The response that I had was, unfortunately, I must say unfortunately, that it is strictly confidential. And therefore, I am not playing, or I'm not, and then you say come clean. Look who is saying come clean. You're telling me to come clean? You are telling me to come clean? Yeah, look on your side. Look on your side before you tell me to come clean. So I am coming clean. I am coming clean. And I show respect. And let me answer. You asked a question. Did I interrupt you? Yeah? Mr. Speaker, sir, I have to show respect to international institutions. When they put it as a condition that it is strictly confidential, it cannot be rendered public, it cannot be communicated even to the National Assembly, of course I have to abide. And that is what I'm doing.
The Prime Minister has the Prime Minister, as I say, is game for a laugh. The Prime Minister is game for a laugh, and the country knows that he is aware, that the country is fully aware that he is the one who breached the serious clause of confidentiality by dropping the name of specific person in the document. And he went as far as to say, as to the amount of money that was given in respect of bribes. Who said that 250 million rupees was given in form of bribe to intermediaries? So you have disclosed the essence of this document. And if you are honest, you should render this document public. Otherwise, you are running from your own responsibility.
Mr. Speaker, sir,
Quiet here.
can the Honorable Leader of the Opposition say, when did I make public names of people, first of all, an amount of money? Can he say that? You're just making allegations.
Allegation. It's not allegation. This was said to the Deputy Prime Minister. And the Deputy Prime Minister is aware that said it in public. Not only did he drop the name of a member of this House, but he stated very clearly that 250 million rupees of bribe was given to intermediaries. And it's unbecoming of a Prime Minister to disclose sensitive information to a gentleman who is an indictee in this. And Honorable Colin David is an indictee in this case by disclosing sensitive information to Honorable Kolandavelu, he has given him unfair advantage.
But you're mentioning Honorable Kolendavelu. Why don't you mention whose other names I have supposedly made public? Why?
I challenge you to render this document public.
Whom do you want to cover up?
You are the one who's covering up. You are the one who's covering up. You are the one. You are guilty of impropriety.
Order, please.
Minister has asked who's being covered up. Can I ask him, when he was Minister of Finance and Prime Minister, did he not have representatives on the board of CB? Yes or no? And did they not report the matter to the Financial Secretary or to the Permanent Secretary of this House?
Mr. Speaker, sir,
October 2019.
I can categorically say that I have never been made aware of this scandal. Never. Don't say anything.
Then what you're saying, that the guidelines for officers of public bodies, are you saying that these officers have absconded from their responsibilities by not disclosing what was said in the CB board when everybody knew that corrupt practitioners were told to the acting general manager since February 2019? And you mean all that time the message has not been conveyed either to you or to the then Deputy Prime Minister?
Well, now I know. Not everybody knew, but some people knew. And we know who knew. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rely on this one. This is the report. This is the finding from an Office of Integrity and Anti-Corruption, which is well-renowned and who is being led by a person of great integrity, of great respect internationally. And if they have come to such finding, I rely on this finding. And the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is saying that I communicated to the Deputy Prime Minister, the then Deputy Prime Minister. But of course, he was my Deputy Prime Minister. I am asking him to step down. I will just tell him, oh, you know, just step down. I needed to put it to him about certain information with regard to this report to justify my request for stepping down. So I don't see any problem in that. It's the way you are talking as if it's I should have kept quiet. I should have kept quiet then and keep the report for me. Only to my knowledge.
The Prime Minister a fait un aveu de taille, and he has just stated very clearly that he has breached serious clause of confidentiality by giving sensitive information to his former Deputy Prime Minister. This is a cover-up. And can I ask the Prime Minister, is he aware that the former Deputy Prime Minister can be an indictee and he's going to be convened by ICAC, which means that he has already been given sensitive information. This is what the Prime Minister has done.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I asked my Deputy Prime Minister to step down on the basis... Well, qui fait to exciter?
The opposition, you have a very good question.
Yes, it's a very good question. Thank you for that. Thank you for the PNQ itself. I asked, Mr. Speaker, sir, I asked my Deputy Prime Minister to step down. I need to base myself, and he needs to know on what ground I'm asking him to step down. I revoke my Deputy Prime Minister, and the Leader of the Opposition has the cheek to say to the people of Mauritius that I'm covering up. C'est le monde à l'envers! But, so far he has not even mentioned the name of the other member of the National Assembly whose name is in this report. Huh? That is, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I call that.
Order! Order on both sides of the House! Order! Order, please! Order both sides of the House! Order, please! Order! You finished with
I was saying, and he's accusing me of cover up. Whereas this is a clear case where this is a clear case where he, as leader of the opposition, is trying to cover up for another member of the opposition.
Give the report. Submit the report.
Order! Honorable Bagwan.
Mr. Speaker, let me...
Of integrity and
Order, please! Order, please! Honorable Bagwan, can you withdraw that word? Lash. No. So, you have to withdraw yourself from the chamber. I suspend.